Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Dustin, Berserker Bear. I have a little bit of a special edition for you, a different type of, well, more like old school in the style of my older videos where I would just use my phone and lean it up against a book holder and just have ideas. So that's what I'm going to do here. We're going to get right into it. It's not necessarily a boots on the ground. It's not necessarily a deep dive. What it is more of going to pretty much put it together and tell you how I feel about what I see and give you an assessment of what I believe I'm researching as far as the main topics of stuff when you think of alt history or his story that we say, or old world. Main points being like Tartaria, reset, mud flood. We're going to address that. And I like to point you in this direction. Odyssey, I have a channel here. Everything's mirrored there. And catch me over here. Odyssey.com/@BerserkerBear. If for no other reason, but to give you guys another place to find my stuff. I appreciate all your help, all your insight, all your comments, all your subs. You guys motivate me for sure, and I hope to put together a good episode for you here. It's going to be like I'm going to do like a back and forth. I got a lot of stuff to reference, so it'll be in the style of like back and forth, showing you a lot of stuff. We're going to go over this Remus landslide. We're going to go over, what I say when we say the word mud flood. I'm going to tell you what I think about this stuff. I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to reference researcher Randall Carlson, Sacred Geometry. He was on Joe Rogan quite a few years back. He's one of the reasons why I had purchased some of these books, like Origins of the Sphinx, Robert Schoch and Boval, Fingerprints of the Gods by Graham Hancock, Magicians of the Gods by Graham Hancock, and some of these other books that are interspersed through here. I guess you call it my Babylonian, my School of Babylon section of my library, are ones that I've had or were my grandfather's. Okay, so I've had these books for a while. I've talked about it with Michelle Gibson that we've entered into this alternative history research through the megalithic stuff that Robert Schoch does with the Sphinx, or even Brian Forrester, South America, Graham Hancock, Randall Carlson. Okay, Randall Carlson has a theory about this place that he discussed very interestingly on Joe Rogan. As a matter of fact, I have it in here. Always lowercase the toe. Anyway, I highly recommend watching these episodes. I watched them back when they came out. And in these episodes, Randall specifically cites how he goes through and went to these places. And Potholes Coulee is formed from and this is a real general sense, a massive flood, allegedly theoretically from a bolide impact that hit an ice sheet, caused a huge flooding. And he cites an energy paradox that I'm going to address and possibly show an example of something else that may have happened. Maybe not so much on that scale, but okay, we're going to get into that. We're going to address this and how I believe that mud flood might be attributable to this. I'm going to address this. I will incorporate this. We got some old map gravy here. Take a note right here of what that says. Find business and residence lots on easy payments. Write for further information. School, shops, stores, and factories, suburb homes with city conveniences. Effectively, they're selling this whole city as an already made city. And this is now Rochester, a suburb of Rochester, East Rochester, that is. But it was Despatch, New York. And they're selling the city here, effectively. Already made. I'm going to address that. East Rochester, there goes School of Babylon. We're going to address this stuff, which is, this is where the pretty sick gravy is here. Where you get into stuff like this. Boom, boom. And I'm going to give you a general assessment of what I think everything that I'm seeing is, and we'll go from there. I hope you stick around with me, because effectively I'm going to tell you what I think about Tartaria, mud flood resets, and how that applies to what I see when I research, and I guess you'd call it my buddies bust my chops. They call it the grand cohesive. So that's what I'm going to try to present to you, and I think it's about time that I do that. And I'm going to use all this stuff. We're going to bounce back and forth. So I did come to this. I was thinking about the interview that I just showed you with Rogan and Carlson, and also going through my library, seeing these, and I was thinking, I remember seeing this footage back in the day. Now Randall, effectively, what I'll say about that, I will generalize what he says about what created Potholes Coulee. During the last ice age, I'm not even going to get into times. You guys can go and listen to that and assess it for yourself. What he's saying is there was a massive, you know what, we can actually go there. Let's do this. Now this is in Washington. There's a comment on my last video. What site do I use for this? It's Google Earth. This is Potholes Coulee. Now Randall goes here and he explains how this is all massive flooding, rippling, massive rippling, just like you'd see at the bottom. I know this does look like the bottom of a lake, Lake Erie, when you're in sand. So a big old massive flood came off of the northern ice sheet from last ice age, if you will. I forget the name of it. There's like two of them up here. And what they assess is, it's like, propose a really good question. And at the time, I certainly understand what can cause something like this. What can cause a massive flood like this? And you come up, if you're under a certain model of things, if you will, solar system model. I happen to believe in this one. All right, no big deal. It's all good. So at the time, though, I was under that. I was of the mindset of him, or at least as far as our system being spherical in nature and the whole planet thing. I'm not even going to get into that debate. It's not what I'm going at here. It's for another time. Anyway, I definitely believe what he's saying, that was a massive flood. You can even see, what these things are is he explains that like these little things happen from like little torrents coming off, and if it was going for a little bit longer, this little nip right here would have been all leveled out, and you could begin to see how, this was a massive flood. So I'm thinking about this, and I'm just going back and forth, and I remember seeing this video before. So what he said, Randall's, he comes to a point where he's explaining to Joe, you assess as within the planet model that there's not really the amount of energy terrestrially at the time, before nuclear age. Of course, this is 10,000 years ago. I'm not sure an exact date, but I certainly in that model can understand that. And at the time I did, that's called the energy paradox, is how he explained it. There's nothing really with the amount of energy that can cause something that can make a flood that big. It is huge. So what he assesses is that it's a cosmological answer, or a bolide impact. Or a bolide impact is where something comes from outside the system in, out from outer space and hits the ice sheet. Now he has theorized that what created this and these scablands and everything is a giant flood from that. I believe it's called the Missoula flood flats, if you will. And yeah, that could definitely, if it's that and a bolide impact happened, man, that would certainly immediately evaporate and liquefy trillions and trillions of tons of ice. And it was buffered by this mountain range, come right through this valley. And I defined valleys in my last video. And hits this, it must have hit here, must have been a rift here, whatever. He explains it more, go watch it. Now, what we're going to do, and in with my research and my Gulliver's Travels, I remember seeing this video from back in the day, and I looked it up. Now, let's read what the Pantai, keep that in mind about the bolide impact and the energy paradox, that which Randall Carlson cites for his cosmology. Certainly understandable. I appreciate that. What I'm going to do here is try to present something possibly different. And I've been researching it myself. And I give credit also to, dude who put me onto it is Philip Druzinin, the Crushing Curmudgeon. Yeah, that's right, Phil. I called you a Crushing Curmudgeon. But yeah, he's, I talked about this with Phil also. And I've done the video on my video on Grand Canyon and the mining of it. So let's read what happens here. And as a matter of fact, I'll pull this out and we'll watch this as I read it. How about that? So energy paradox, something that what can create something like this? Randall Carlson believes that it's an impact on the ice sheet. Let's keep that in mind. Now, here we go. The Pantai Remus landslide was a rockfall and flood that occurred on 21st October 1993 near Pantai Remus in Perak, Malaysia. The landslide took place in an abandoned open-cast tin mine in a region of the state well known for its mining industry. Close to the Strait of Malacca. Video footage shows the rapid collapse of the working face closest to the sea. That says sea. That's the ocean. That is the ocean. Okay. Video footage shows the rapid collapse of the working face closest to the sea, allowing complete flooding of the mine and forming a new cove measuring approximately half a kilometer, 0.19 square miles. A video of this event was uploaded to YouTube on 17th May 2007. I'll leave this in the description. I presume this is fair use here. It's on YouTube. I'm citing that I'm using it. The accompanying description in Cantonese reads, "That year I received a call by the owner of the tin mine. He said that his mine, which had been running for a few decades, was about to collapse. I rushed to the scene with my video camera and waited for a few hours. Finally, I took this valuable footage. Although the footage lasted only a few minutes, it is horribly exciting enough. I hope that this video can let you all appreciate the consequence of ruining our environment." Professor Dave, end quote. Okay. Professor Dave Petley, the Wilson Chair in Hazard and Risk in the Department of Geography at University of Durham, England, and founder and director of the International Landslide Center, described the recording as the best landslide video he had ever seen. despite its poor resolution. Now look at this. There's parts of this video that look fake because it's so massive. Okay, now I can't underscore the how unbelievably amazing this is. So that part right there, yeah, it almost looks like it's fake. That's the ocean coming into a mine, and it completely levels out. Look at that, boom, whoa! I mean, that's got, I can't even. We'll try to deduce scale. I'm gonna find this place I have on the map, and it says that it created a cove. So that's Pantai Remus landslide right there. It looks almost fake. Look at that. Like, it looks fake. And you could, it's dipping. The actual level of the ocean is dipping. This is massive. Now I wonder. Well, let's get to the end of this. Okay. Now I think it's fair to question, or at least propose, that as another, oh my goodness, possibility. Excuse me. I mean, look at this. Now, when I say the energy paradox that Randall cites, what I want to say and propose is, well, is this a possibility that was addressed? Because now, here, let's go. Now we're here. We're at Potholes Coulee, and you know what? What did I close? Yep, come and sub me here. Check me out here, odyssey.com/@berserkerbear. Watch. This is where the hip fire comes in. Look at that. Look at that. You know, of course, there's a video on site too. Someone gets tipped off. You know, why would you be? You know what? I'm not even gonna say. You know, doing surface mining that close to the sea. Phenomenal. I mean, massive. So, okay. Now, okay, here. See, this is how we do it. All right, we're at from Potholes Coulee to. Oh, look what they have. Look what they have for the picture. Okay, you know what? I found it earlier. There we go. Okay, so the Wikipedia says that it created a cove. Now, I was up and down here. I'm looking like where. You know, it doesn't even really say the name of the. It just says that it's abandoned. Okay, even though the owner was there, right? What's the name of that? You know, I'm not saying. I'm just saying. I have Sauron already removed one of my videos. So, whatever. Peep this. Someone asked me one of my last comments. Do I believe volcanoes are real? Yeah, I do. Most of them probably are. Some of them, we're going to go over it. Where is all that stuff? Oh, it's in the albums. We're going to go over this. Surface open and building mines. Bulfontein Diamond Mine, South Africa. From one of my books. 1949, 1959. We're going to go over all this, so stick with me. We're going to go over all this. This is from that book I just showed you. Makes me think of 7 levels of HELL. You know, this is I'm going back and forth. You know, this isn't necessarily like a boots on the ground. I'm gonna try to make a, here we go, Vulcan's Throne. This is allegedly this is Vulcan's Throne, Grand Island. I did this one in my Grand Island vid. Okay, is that Vulcan's Throne volcano, as they say, or is it one of these things? You know, spoil tip from something like this. We're going to go over all this, but let's go back to trying to find out where this is. I think it's this place right here. When I was looking at it, I mean, if this is a cove, note the shape of that too, huh? Star-ish. Or is this right here? Okay, it's one of these two. Yeah, I was looking at... Did it happen at... Wow. So either, you know, I'm not sure where that mine was. I was looking for it. Maybe, look at this is squared off. Maybe this was it right here. It doesn't really say exactly. Oh, you know what? Usually you can do this. How did I not think of this before? Hope you like the hip fire. I'm trying to put it together with you guys effectively. Where you at? Where you at? Oh, that's it. Okay, so it's smaller. Boom, so that's it. I'm just finding this now. Now let me... So, this seems to be sensitive, this topic. I'm serious. And whatever. Because in my opinion, this is what we're seeing over time. And I'm going to get into that with the resets and the mud flood and everything. Let's keep on going here. I mean, just look at this. So we found it. All right, so what happened here, in here, as it says, did I close that, yo? Oh, no. Okay, as it says in the wacky, it says that it I took the coordinates, I looked it up, this is it. So what we witnessed was the formation of this from this. And there's crazy amount of this stuff in Malaysia, a lot. And that's where I found this article. Now this relates to when I got asked that question, do I think volcanoes are real? Yeah, Kilauea is erupting right now with lava, making land, for sure. Some of them might be what happened at Aberfan. I mean, sensitive. Okay, well, what do these things look like to you? Is that Vulcan's Throne? No, they're saying this is Aberfan disaster. Look it up. Terrible accident. It's maybe why my last one got removed. This is all free open source information that I'm looking up, though. Just putting things together and threading a needle. Let's read this. Refining pans in the Chinese smelting plant at Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. The tin is smelted in these pans, and slag, which rises to the surface, is skimmed off with ladles. Is that right? The skimmings can be seen in the pan in the foreground. Okay. This is the only Chinese smelter left in Malaya. The rest of the tin being smelted by 2 European companies. And then let's go back to that. You see that? This is Aberfan aerial. What happens is the slag actually, this is old tillings, effectively spoil tips. To the spoils, to the victor go the spoils. I got a book on that. Where are you at? And look at, guys, I mean, they were able to move water places far. Off hills. If there's water up high, they're able to move it. They're able to escort it. If you can, as long as you can get it downhill, you're able to escort it through a siphon. A monitor, look. Very easily. Or and then you could do that. I mean, I've addressed this before. And who's to say they took out metalliferous core veins on cliffs with these machines. And all they had to do was just canal stuff off, move water, fall it, let it fall, canal it, and you got pressure. I've addressed all this. And if you could lay water and move it, you can lay track. Okay, I mean, what are these things? Are they really cannons, or are they? I mean, we look at these old pictures of these towns and villages, and I'll cite John Levi, where it looks all muddy and the buildings that look like they say that it's all been fired. Well, who's to say that it's all been fired but they look like they've been knocked down in a certain way? To me, it looks like they might have been knocked down by these things. Be a nice inversion too, truth. You know, everything says it's fire, but meanwhile, why is everything muddy? I don't know. And then you incorporate a definition of radial street pattern. Now, when we see buildings with, first, I'm gonna show you guys something here. Let's radial street grid. The radial street grid is a gridiron plan on steroids. It is strictly geometric, regardless of the existing topography, and in some cases changes the topography to better match geometry. Huh. Let's pull up 1805 Buffalo. That is a confirmed radial street pattern, confirmed by and established by Joseph Ellicott. Allegedly, it was placed per history, 1804, 1805, Joseph Ellicott, who was also responsible for the Erie Canal, is responsible for this radial street pattern here in Buffalo. I think these were all possibly canals. Bust-eye might have been a canal, possibly. Still working on that. Anyway, topography changes to match the geometry. That means that references that site's terraforming geoengineering. What you see, okay, we addressed that. You guys seen that. Let's go back to rough buff. I got a Bill's hat on. I got a lot of hats. All right, Buffalo. Street level windows. I always, for example, we say what? When I say mud flood, we come up with that, right? And some say that there's a global inundation of mud. I don't subscribe to that. I'm not completely discounting the mud flood. Look what happens in small cases like, let's do, you've seen that, Pantai. Look that up. Okay. This is a tailings mine. Localized mud flood for sure. I mean, the aftermath where this settles, certainly horrifically detrimental, but specifically different than what we see, for example, with street level windows. Now, I want to segregate myself here, or at least say that I believe that when I see street level windows now, I don't think that that's directly indicative, when I say this or see this. To me, that doesn't prove that there was even if we see this in the streets here, like in Philip does in Moscow, all that tells me is that, there may have been a radial street pattern design that they had to account for the geometry, so they dug in a little bit. That's possible. So I'm making that correlation right now for me. Not discounting the mud flood, and I know some people say that there was a global liquefaction event or realm-wide liquefaction event or global inundation, realm-wide inundation of mud. I don't personally agree with that. Again, my cosmology is of Most High. And if anything, I do lend credence to of course, obviously, I believe the flood happened. And everything could be sandboxed after that, moving stuff back and forth with stuff like this. Just literally. And I think that we're seeing more time, way more time than 4K years of recorded history, in my opinion. I believe it's an eternal thing under Most High. Again, this comes into theology, but I want to make sure I stay on my research, but it's hard for me not to identify that because I see it through the lens of this. So I believe that we're under the firmament. I believe that it's a permanent, eternal thing. I believe that it's regenerative and it's indestructible and it's self-regenerating. Okay, just like the old school train of thought that running water cleans itself. Okay. Now, where was I going with that? Yep. So I think that, we keep on trying to fit things into how did they, for example, my desktop, look at that. We're just seeing time, I believe, in my opinion, more time than we're trying to fit this stuff into a scaffolding that's erroneous to begin with in this 4K years of recorded history. Now, I'm not talking geological time here. I am coming from my background of my faith and using it here, not overarching personally, but I'm trying to be research related here. I believe we're seeing eternal time happen in constant ups and downs of human achievement and human de-achievement, if you will. And we got radial street patterns, we got that. And so I believe, the mud flood, I believe, is addressed with, not necessarily addressed, but in my opinion, we can't take off the table the fact that it could just be strictly attributable in the cities to radial street pattern grid. It literally says it in the definition. We have to look that up. Tartary. Let's get into Tartary now. It was a tract of land in Siberia. And when we say this stuff looks Tartarian, it's a blanket term, and I have addressed that in one of my last videos. And actually, as a matter of fact, I want to give props to Woody. Thank you, Woody Nichols. Check his channel out. Clearly, he's a fan of Conan. Oh, this is a cool picture. Exactly. I like that one. Where you at? Addressing the blanket term of barbarian, as opposed to the with the antagonistic threats to the Roman Empire. They were barbarians. When I addressed that in my last video, I got a personal congratulatory remark from Woody himself, my man. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. He said, well said about the blanket terms. My man. Thank you very much, Woody. I really appreciate that, man. Coming from you for sure. Thank you. All right, barbarian, blanket term, Tartaria. Yeah, it was a place. I have these old books. Oh, man. That reference them. All right. I have this old book right here. I have many old books here. This one, 1942-53. It does say Tartar in it. I posted this before. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. Addressed it. If nothing else, it is a place delineated on old maps. It was a tract of land. Do I think everything was the Tartarian Empire? No, I say old world for that. The old world empire or whatever. Benevolent empire. Linked up with many other. I went over this before. I'm not going to get into it. when we say Tartaria, it looks like it's Tartarian. It's a blanket term. I have another book right here that addresses all those old architectural styles. Romanesque, Greek, Moorish. This is 1937, 1947 architecture book. I use that. Tartary is a blanket term. I've addressed that. Woody, thank you. Under the firmament. Okay, now, that said, with radial street patterns and all that, and Ellicott did the Buffalo's radial street pattern, 1804, 1805. Let's look at Dispatch, New York. Now East Rochester, okay, it got incorporated. All right, East Rochester is Cotermonis town village located southeast of Rochester, Monroe County, home to about 6,600 people, surrounded by Pittsburgh. History, village of East Rochester was originally known as Dispatch. That's all we need to know. So Dispatch on this map is now East Rochester. Boom. See ya. This to me looks like it's an already made town. Now I got to shout out my boy, my good old boy from the South, but he's an Aussie now in Australia, Mr. Brees, who number one hooked me up with the Library of Congress website to get these maps that zoom in like what. He put me onto this way back in the day, way back when we first started talking. Find business and residence lots on easy payments. So what he was trying to underline is like, yo, they're selling businesses as if like all this stuff was already there. Completely logical to assume that if you see this, like it's already laid out. John Levi's addressed this before with Salt Lake City, kind of the same thing. So it's completely logical to make that assumption, like were these things laid out, and if that, were they dug? I understand, were they dug out mud flood? That's completely understandable. Or were they sandboxing stuff and covering stuff up? And has this been going on? Like some have said, we've been in the Bronze Age for a lot longer. I believe that now. I wholeheartedly believe that, and I think that's one of the things that's so sensitive about this subject of research is that we are probably butting up against some things that are, because I mean, look at what you can do. Okay, so this is Vulcan's Throne. I've addressed, is that Vulcan's Throne or Abertham disaster? Vulcan's Throne is a volcano. Abertham disaster is a known spoil tip that acted the same exact way as Vulcan's Throne did. I've addressed this before. They can look, see how they laid out all those for the canals. They can just lay track then too, and just like straight up sandbox the entire route. Look at this. This is why I wanted to make put. You know what? Let's go to the radial street pattern in 1804. Let's try to paint this picture. Now, I've searched these online for the Bagger 839 or whatever it's called, the huge, massive moving machine. I scooped this one from Philip Druzinin. I believe that's probably the Bagger right there, 939 or whatever it is. So look at what they could do to the Terra. All right. And note the ridges. Note the ridges. And I'm just saying, okay, look at that. So you see this, how they can just like, it looks like those ladders you see in the old pictures that we see all the time. You know, ladders or railroad tracks. Look at this. Okay, so we got levels here, levels. Next picture is going to kind of get you thinking like I do, I would assume. This is the Grand Canyon. I don't even think I need to say anything. Now, I'm not discounting erosion. I defined all that stuff. That does happen. It'd be really easy if you could speed it up by doing stuff like this. And then it just looks like erosion when time passes. Or you cover it up. My opinion. That's what I'm saying here. Look at this. Cover up here, 1,000 years go by there. Cover it up there, 10,000 years go by there. Not geologic time. When I say time, I'm referring to time eternal under Most High. Deal with it. That's my opinion. That's my belief. I'm still trying to do the research for what we see here, boots on the ground. That's the bagger. Look at the size comparison. So that's why I had these things up. Watch this video from, here you go, boom. This is all on my community tab of my YouTube channel. Also, Truth Drop in film. They love to do it. When this big mobile city, and let's get into this scarcity. When this mobile scarcity comes after this little Bavarian thing right here, they refer to it as a Bavarian mining machine. Oh, do ya? So this is all information that's put in front of us from the screens, and I'm just trying to weave that thread through here. It's all truth drops. You got to be like, and I'm not planting my flag on anything. I'm not planting my flag on any of these spoil tips or claiming. I am. This is my opinion. I think this is all. And as far as resets go, okay, let's address that now. So we hit the Tartary, we hit the mud flood with radials. Let's see, I did have a... Yeah, so we've seen that tailings collapse and that, what if there's a vibration that goes on, for example, the New Madrid earthquake, and those tailing mines vibrate at a local level or an earthquake or whatever, and they just liquefy, that would cause local, or an eruption of a volcano causes lahars. Okay, maybe liquefaction of a tailings mine can cause lahars. All right. Okay, mud flow, debris, composite slurry. Notable example of that, there were massive lahars during the Mount St. Helens. Okay, so what am I doing here? Bavarian, time, got that, potholes. Okay, so what was I going to be going for now? Radial, firmament, dispatch. All right, radial, street grid. Sorry about this, guys. Kind of lost my train of thought there. All right, so the massive size of these does allow for, tear to happen. What if, everyone talks about the New Madrid earthquake. What if the tailings mines were vibrated and they are liquefied, And also, yeah, so I have, this is in one of my books. I just couldn't help but think about how it's analogous, or it looks, visually similar to how they depict, the 7 levels of HELL. I don't even want to. And look at the Legos, the Lego blocks, Mr. Brees. So, yeah, so look at this. This is tailings. Okay, this is what I wanted. So they could move water easily. Now, this could just be moved, or once this is done, you can just lay track on it because you already leveled it out for water. Bing, bang, boom. And I believe when I say time over time, I'm literally going against, pretty much mainstream here, big time, because I believe in eternal time, and how that even, strict Catholics or Trinitarians, if you will, might not agree with that either, because that the age of the world is, per the Bible, I don't know, they say 4,000 years. I think that the Bible is a common denominator story that's brought forward, and it's been going on forever. And Babylon, maybe before Babylon Atlantis was the previous Babylon of the previous age, and maybe the demigods that we see all throughout these ancient cultures are all the human example setters for each tribe all throughout the land, and mine is Jesus Christ by God. I don't want to get into religion, but you brush up to it. It's kind of, the further back you go, it kind of gets like a Dan Brown novel. Everything kind of wishes together, but it is what it is. I'm speaking from my heart here. I'm speaking in truth, and it is what it is. I believe you guys deserve to hear how I see things, okay? And I'm not referring to geological time when I say I believe that we've been here for eternal, and it's been a constant ups and downs. I completely don't reject Darwinism, though I respect people who research it. I respect Randall Carlson and his assessment of the bolide impact theory. For sure, it's a great argument. I don't agree with it, but it certainly doesn't mean that we can't have discourse about it. Okay, I mean, this is fascinating. Doesn't take away from how fascinating and how engulfed and enthused I was when I heard about it at the time. It's not taken away from any of that. I just happen to disagree, professionally. And with that, when I say School of Babylon, check this out. These are all my some of these are my grandfather's books. Some of my trinkets are my grandfather's. Wait till you see this thing. I mean, I'm probably going to catch some heat for this. I got to fix this thing, too. It came out. I lost a screw. This is a book holder that my grandfather had. Okay? And that's what I keep my Egypt stuff in, Oh, my gosh. Am I a Mason? Absolutely not. And I have nothing against them either, Masons. Matter of fact, I worked right across when we were working in the office. Now we work from home now, still. Grateful. I worked right across from a Mason. I mean, guys, it's just like discernment number one. And when you see, I drink out of a Jack Skeleton mug when I'm on my videos sometimes. It's black and white, Solomon's floor. Oh my gosh, he's a Mason. I mean, to me, that's hilarious. And I'm certainly up for busting balls or whatever. I have friends, and I have an older brother. Love you, brother. I have good buddies that bust balls. That's how things are weeded out and worked on, because I have a pyramid Sphinx Egyptian style book holder. It doesn't mean that I promote that Babylonian school of thought. Of course, I incorporate it. I incorporate everything. But I use that too. So it is what it is. I'm Christian. Deal with it. It is what it is. So I don't subscribe to the geologic time, though. I think it's time eternal. I even, incorporate Eastern philosophy of eternal now. Anything that has ever happened in the past or will happen in the future happens right now. Okay. Call me blaspheme, but I think in light of, Philip Druzin, my homie, he likes to bust my balls talking about busting balls. He likes to tell me I sit as they say in Russia, I sit in a lot of different chairs because I don't want to hold. I say a lot as it looks like melt, looks like, Titans. Looks like mining. A lot looks like mining to me for sure. And then sandbox back and forth. Not to say, in the theology and by the good book or the older books rather, Enoch obviously, when they tried to reach from Babel into the firmament, those who tried to breach the firmament and go into heaven were turned into, guess what? Elephants. And we do see, Stellium 7, we do see things that look like elephants. So logical thought progression to think that. Oh, okay, so look at this too. Now, here's what we're talking about here. Some volcanoes might be massive smelting spoil tips. I cite the Aberfam disaster. Again, I don't want to be redundant here, but I'm going back and forth. Aberfam. Do your own due diligence here. Look up this thing. Do some pictures comparison, side-by-side comparison with this and Vulcan's throne. And then look up this. I pause it for a reason. You can pause it yourself and look it up now. Check this out, guys. This is a hill. Let's see. Where are we at? This is a hill somewhere in grazing area, and this is before grazing. That's after cow grazing. Okay, so this whole narrative about, this is why we incorporate different trains of thought here. You say what you want about cow farts, but this is the hill before it was grazed on by cattle, and after they graze and fertilize it, this is what happens. So is there motive to hide what we do in our past, or what his story was? I guess so. Was this done over the whole realm? Possible. I'm just trying to put it out there. Now, one of their things that I have to address as far as the mainstream goes, there is this thing called the black mat layer, if I can find it in here. Archaeologically speaking, there's a black mat layer that they say is indicative of a bolide impact, and I haven't done much research on that, but I have to do my due diligence and say it, because I almost forgot it. I defined strata my last video. The black mat layer. Okay, yeah, that's why. So the black mat layer is indicative with the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. So I'm here to say that I don't necessarily agree too much with that. So let's go back to the Pantai Aberfan disaster and round it back to what I was talking about, Potholes Coulee, because I don't think I did make that actually connection. I kind of straight off into the Tartary mud flood reset and the time thing here. I think that we're seeing time eternal ups and downs, and that certainly can address this impossible architecture that we call impossible. They can actually do that. They were able to move that stuff around with the equipment that they had at the time. You can move those blocks. Right there, boom. Lackawanna steel plant. You lay tracks down, and then you lay a canal down and wash it all away with the monitors, maybe, allegedly. Could it be? Who knows? Oh yeah, and let me, I want to go back to the Potholes Coulee and the energy hypothesis, okay? But let me show you this too. This is cool. This is why I think when I was saying I also want to address this ground level in the mud flood. This is in my basement. And yo, Neil, you notice that? Toronto Jew Bear? This was a gift from Neil, my man, up in Toronto. Thank you, brother. Hear that noise? Ooh, what's that? What's that? This is my basement. Sorry about the Michael Myers breathing. Look at that chimney. What's up with what you got there? Chimney gravy. Only things that are standing in chimney old videos or the pictures of fire cities are the chimneys. Why? Maybe water. Okay. Now, the whole perimeter of my basement is accounting for water getting into it. Here's my thought here. Street level windows aren't necessarily indicative of global mud flood inundation here, especially when basements in Buffalo that have street level windows like this actually also have basements that account for water getting into it. I actually step over that drain when I come down to sit here. How can I have looked over this the entire time? You know, I'm not trying to confuse people here. I'm learning this in real time. Okay. So also, my last video, I cited that Buffalo has tunnels and vaults underneath it. Listen. There's a little bit of, I got to clean my grate off, but it's going down into another tunnel. I presume teeing into another tunnel on the street level, and it has to be lower to be able to, water goes downstream, information flows downhill, shit rolls downhill also. Water flows downhill. Excuse my language, I'm sorry, I try not to swear. But that tells me that there is infrastructure underneath my house, piping, that takes this water out. These basements do same thing in my father's basement a couple blocks away. I've seen these drains in other basements. That said, seeing street level windows, I'm going to say in my opinion, isn't indicative of a realm-wide liquefaction event or mud flood event. It certainly doesn't discount the fact that there's localized mud flooding and stuff like that. And who's to say that literally the mud that we see in these old streets and why everything's all muddy and why certain buildings look the way they do, Mr. Brees, like they don't look like they're fire. Maybe it's because one of these things was pointed at the city. And they washed if they can dislodge metal ore from cliff faces and literally disintegrate cliff faces with these things, you better believe that they can disintegrate cities with them, in my opinion. And if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Why wouldn't you just point it at a city? I've addressed this before. So, in my basement, water does get in, not necessarily through the windows, the ground level windows. I mean, though I do have them. Just so it's known, there is a system in place, an infrastructure in place to accept and allow for water to get into the basements. So that's all I'll say about that. Going back to Pantai and Randall. Now, so Randall's saying what can cause Potholes Coulee is a bolide impact. I say, well, this little incident here created a whole cove. And it may not be as big as, wow, I mean, that's pretty big. Who's to say that they haven't done this? Who's to say that this couldn't have been done in other areas? And could this account for, or could this completely, not discredit whatsoever, but this completely act as another option to address, other than Randall's energy paradox? Okay, I just think it has to be put on the table because, number one, we have video of it right here. Number two, I've never seen video of a bolide impact on an ice sheet. Certainly doesn't mean that it couldn't happen. Though I don't think it would be a bolide impact. I think it would be a firmament luminary. Maybe the actual constellations of the luminaries from the past. But that's for another video. Randall Carlson's energy paradox regarding bolide impact to create Potholes Coulee from the Missoula floods. I think we should address the Pantai Remus landslide also, and tailing mines and stuff like open pit mining as a possible case to completely reconstruct landscape, as I've addressed in Pantai Remus. Let's see if we still have it. We do. Let's go one last time. Coming up on an hour. Perfect. There we go. So this, look at that. It looks fake. Looks fake. So that created this cove. And you know what I'll say to that? End it out with this.
Let me tell you something. You're suspect. Yeah, you. I don't know what your reputation is in this town. But after the shit you tried to pull today, you can bet I'll be looking into you.
Hope you liked it. That was a grand tour of, the way I see things. Any questions, please leave them in the comments. Email me. It's in the About section of my YouTube page. Also, come check me out at Odyssey. You will find Berserker Bear there as well. Bushwhacking History in Buffalo on Odyssey. You got odyssey.com/@BerserkerBear. And I hope I hit all my points. Radio, ground level windows. Yep. All right. That was Hipfire edition of Bushwhacking, or Bushwhacking History in Buffalo. Got to get used. Bushwhacking History in Buffalo. All right. So next one I believe will be the Connecticut Street Armory. Let's go to my channel. Oh yeah, I always give these guys a shout out. Outsiders, my cousins, they do great fishing here in Buffalo. Fishing channel, come here to subscribe or go to their channel. Outsiders, they do fishing. Check them out. Give them a like and a share if you like. And Connecticut Street Armory will be my next boots on the ground for you. So coming soon. All right. I appreciate it. Thanks for all your help. Thanks for all your love and support. Let's hope this one stays up. All right. Keep your heads up and your face up. Catch you on the next one.